Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's UDC Library webinar, Creating a Thesis. My name is Megan Kolsky. I'm the Outreach and Reference Librarian, and I'm going to just handle the logistics for today's session. The content is going to be presented by my colleague, Trisha Clark. We will be, as you heard, recording this session, and it will be posted to our YouTube after it is over. The link will be sent to everyone who registered. We will also have time for a Q&A at the end, both recorded and unrecorded, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat and we will monitor that as we go along. So thank you for attending today and take it away, Trish.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to hear about creating a thesis statement. So here's a quick overview of what I'm going to discuss today. First things first, we're going to define what a thesis statement actually is. I'm going to talk about what it means to develop a research question as part of this process of creating a thesis statement. I'm going to discuss briefly what it means to conduct background research, and then we're going to sum up with some things to remember to hopefully be useful and helpful to you as you go through this process of creating a thesis statement. So writing a good thesis statement may seem like a daunting process, but there are a number of ways to approach it that can make it seem a lot more manageable. But before we even get into that, let's first talk about what a thesis statement actually is. It is more than just a general topic or idea. So for instance, something like artificial intelligence in school is a topic that we're hearing a lot more about lately, both as librarians, as faculty, and I'm sure as students, you're hearing a lot more about AI in schools. So that's a topic, but it's not quite a thesis statement. Thesis statements are at least one complete sentence, sometimes more than one sentence, and they let readers know the main viewpoint or perspective or argument that you will be making in your paper, and it should ideally be more than a statement of fact. A strong thesis statement will let the reader know whether you are in support of something or whether you are against it. So essentially sort of think of it as making an argument, right? Taking a stand for something. The reader will have a clear understanding of your perspective and some of the reasons or evidence stated briefly why you are making the argument that you're making. So how do you go from a general topic or idea to a strong thesis? Well, it can be helpful to develop a research question first. A research question helps you identify what you want to learn about a topic, which ultimately guides your research. It would be particularly difficult to come up with a strong thesis statement without having done some kind of background research beforehand. So you will have to know something about the topic and to be able to demonstrate evidence or reasons in support of your thesis statement. So the best way to do that is to have done some research beforehand. Ultimately, the answer to your research question is going to be your thesis statement. And here's a pro tip. Try writing your thesis statement after you've written the rest of your essay. That sounds a little backwards, but in many cases, it's helpful to have done the research beforehand, have a good sense of what reasons or evidence that you're going to use in the body of your essay, and then come back to writing maybe even your entire introductory paragraph. Those parts of your essay can be tweaked, and of course, you will have ideally various revisions of your essay, but it's often useful to leave your introductory paragraph, which may be the most daunting part of your essay, just that beginning process. It may be helpful to leave that until the end of the essay when you have more information that you can work with to then craft your intro paragraph and your thesis statement. So to develop a topic into a research question, you can focus on the 5 W's, and there's an H in there sometimes too. So the who, what, where, when, and why of a topic. And the why, it's also why, maybe how of a topic. So thinking about who does this topic or concept affect, who is affected by this topic or concept, what group of people or demographic is most interesting to learn about concerning this topic. So maybe there's a group that this topic or idea or concept affects severely, right? It could be really helpful to think about who is involved in whatever topic you're thinking about. What is also important, right? So what details about the topic are important to share? What details about the topic do you want to learn more about? Where does a topic or concept occur? Where does it take place? Is it in a particular city? Is this a phenomenon or an issue happening in a particular country, right? So location can also be a really good place to start when you're trying to develop research questions. When does a topic occur is also an interesting concept. If you can think about maybe there's a specific time period that is crucial to understanding this topic. Artificial intelligence is a very current conversation, but technically AI has been around in some different iterations for quite some time. So maybe you're looking at artificial intelligence from a very specific time period perspective. So when is important? And then the why. Why might be the most important question to ask here. Why is this topic significant? Why or how does it happen the way it happens? Is there some reasoning behind it? You'll see in a bit, you can sort of develop that why or how into a bit more evidence for your thesis statement. So we have some questions to ask ourselves about the topic itself. And then the next step of this is to conduct background research. What is background research? So background research is the process of gathering information to understand the basics of a topic, including some of those answers to those 5 Ws and that H. Doing background research can help you understand various viewpoints and perspectives regarding your topic. Remember, when you're doing research, you are entering into a conversation. So it is often helpful to have a sense for what other people are saying about that particular topic, what arguments they're making, what perspectives they are taking, to be able to help you make an informed decision about your perspective, your argument as well, right? So doing that background research can really help give some context to that particular topic. If you'd like to learn more about background research, be sure to check out our recent webinar on our YouTube page about background research. We have one that could be really helpful to you. Once you find information that is helpful, so you find some evidence or reasons or more information about that particular topic, you now have more information to be able to write a strong thesis statement. So here's what this looks like with our sample topic. So we've been talking a bit about artificial intelligence. And specifically, for this example, we're talking about artificial intelligence in school in an academic context. So the who here is community college or university students. Maybe after doing some background research, you realize that this conversation is happening in various places, but you are more interested in maybe your own environment, right? So that would be the community college, university student. How, what, what effects? What are some perspectives? What are some arguments people are making about community college students or university students using AI in school? The what here is using AI for homework. Like, what is the purpose of using AI? Ideally, you can use it for homework in certain ways. And some of the research you may have found has described maybe various ways in which students have been able to use AI for homework successfully, right? Without some of the major concerns about plagiarism and some of the other ethical questions that come up. The where in this instance would be community colleges or universities. That we're talking about that specific context. In this instance, when is not as applicable, it's not as important. So it's NA here. And again, remember, you're not filling something out specifically. There's no reason to write this down necessarily. You also don't have to feel pressure to answer all these questions, the who, what, where, when, and why. But they are starting places. It's a great starting point for doing background research. And then filling out this information can help you figure out the specific aspects of your thesis statement that you'd like to address. The why here is, I think, probably the most important. As you can see, this plays into what are the specific aspects of our thesis statement. So the why is how AI can help students do research, and it can help them generate ideas, and it can also help them proofread and provide grammar assistance. So in your background research, you've discovered maybe videos or articles about the various ways that AI have been helping students. And so using that information, that is going to then inform your thesis statement. So an example of a strong thesis statement here is students should be able to use AI tools like Perplexity, and this is an example of one AI tool. And we could even be specific and say community college students or university students should be able to use AI tools like Perplexity to help them do homework because it can be used as a tool to help generate ideas. So that's one reason or evidence, to conduct background research, another example, another bit of evidence, and to even proofread and provide grammar assistance. So if you think of something like Grammarly, which you have access to at UDC, or even just using a Google Doc or a Word document, and you see those little squiggly lines trying to tell you about your grammar or about a misspelled word, that is all kind of falling under this larger umbrella of AI, right? So there are ways that using AI in this particular context as a community college student, as a university student, in the context of your academic work, using AI for homework can actually be really helpful and useful. I do want to note that sometimes the first draft of your thesis statement is not going to be the final version that you stick with. So maybe during your background research, you've discovered a number of other ways that you can use AI. Students can use AI to help them with homework. So maybe it's not just the proofreading, grammar assistance, but maybe it's to help with identifying specific frameworks, or remind you of what the MLA structure, APA structure, formatting an essay looks like, right? So there are any number of examples, evidence, reasons that you can find. So rather than maybe sticking with your first iteration of a thesis statement, remember that you have options of revising that based on the evidence that you find, and maybe also based on personal interest of what you discovered during your background research. All right, so some tips to remember. Select a topic that isn't just a statement of fact, right? Pick something that could be debatable, or at least one with a few different perspectives. Try not to use fragments or rely on a topic as a thesis statement. That's definitely not going to be the strongest thesis statement. Do some background research before creating your thesis, so that way you have information to work with, you have evidence, you have reasons in advance that you can state clearly, which is our last point, that you can state clearly in your thesis statement. So make sure that your position and your perspective are clearly stated in your thesis statement. And with that, I'm going to ask if there are any questions.
Thank you, Tricia. That was full of some great tips. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. And we will also have time at the end for unrecorded questions.
And you can feel free to, yeah, either put it in the chat, or if you want to unmute, you could do that too.
Right. Not seeing anything come in. I do want to say thank you for attending today's session. We have 2 more webinars this semester, and you can sign up for those on the library's website. We'll be talking about, where information lives and how to find it, and then also trying to figure out how much information you need to complete your projects. We hope you will join us for those today. If not, or join us for those later this semester. If not, you can go ahead and sign up to get the recordings. So again, thank you for attending today, and thank you, Tricia, for the wonderful session. And we hope everyone has a good weekend.
Thank you all.